where the rubber always meets the road, I think. Actually, I'm not even sure what that means.
Heartland Newsfeed Radio Network, live at heartlandnewsfeed.com.
Hey, hey. We've made it to Saturday, everyone. I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network. Good to have you along. March 2nd is upon us. Unfortunately, all week when we've talked to our different meteorologists, whether it be Dan Hicks or Bryce Anderson or Eric Schmidt, still going to be a rough first half of March. I know some portions of central and southern Illinois getting some winter weather this weekend. We'll hear more about that coming up. And our regular Saturday show includes Agrivisor review from Dale Dirkholtz. Also, Let's Talk Horses. Of course, we'll get a weather segment. John Block with his commentary and the 4Fs report. All that coming your way on the RFD Radio Network with our Saturday show, this second day of March. Also, Matt Kay will join us with a recap of things going on in Washington this week. That involves China trade, E15, and, of course, more debate involving the work requirement for food stamps and SNAP. So a lot coming up on this Saturday edition of RFD Illinois. I'm Jim Taylor. You're listening to the RFD Radio Network on this Saturday.
Farm Week and FarmWeekNow.com journalist Kay Shipman connects rural routes for you. For 3 decades, Kay has delivered important news. She covers everything from legislative issues to the latest in soil and water conservation. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I love covering so many aspects of agriculture and providing readers with the facts they need to make better decisions. I also get to work with farmers and meet new people along the way.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
The USDA, National Agricultural Statistics Service, or NASS, recently mailed a survey to Illinois farmers that gives your farm a voice. You can help provide important data that will shape the future of nutrient laws and conservation in Illinois. Look for your NASS survey in the mail in early February. If you receive the survey, take a few minutes and complete it and return it in the prepaid envelope. Together, we are making a difference in Illinois water quality. Visit ilfb.org/NLRS for more information.
Jim Taylor back on the RFD Radio Network. We get a recap of the week in Washington. 3 big topics, E15 China trade, and also a little Democratic pushback involving food stamps, or SNAP. We're joined by Washington correspondent Matt Kay. Take it away, Matt.
Hey, Jim. Yeah, first big news from USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue before the Senate Ag Committee was that he reversed himself on a day earlier testimony before the House Ag Committee that the EPA would not be ready with its year-round rule for E15 sales by this summer's driving season. Talking to the senator from Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, he said, I was speaking on the latest information I had. I was overruled by the acting administrator, Andrew Wheeler, who, based on his confirmation this week, was saying that he is still committed to carrying out the president's campaign promise and later promise in Iowa and elsewhere to get this done by this summer driving season, June 1st. Question is whether June 1st is soon enough, because, as you know, it takes time for those filling stations that don't have the equipment to get those E15 pumps in place. And they also have to purchase the fuel. So there's a timing question there still, but the hope, the expectation at least, is that EPA will, under Andrew Wheeler, try to get this done by this summer.
And next topic, China trade.
Yeah, this is certainly something that both President Trump and China's President Xi Jinping are pushing hard for, particularly because of the damage that the trade war has done to both the Chinese economy and the U.S. economy, particularly agriculture, soybeans, pork, and other commodities. The Secretary told the Senate Ag Committee that based on some of the numbers that China has proposed, particularly buying ag commodities and especially soybeans, he thinks that that market can come back quickly and more abundantly, he said, than we have seen before. If we can see anywhere near the numbers we're looking at with the potential success, the Secretary says, quote, I think farmers will be rewarded handsomely. So a bit of optimism there when we heard the testimony earlier in the week from Robert Lighthizer, the president's trade ambassador. He was a bit more cautious than either the president or Secretary Perdue. If we can complete this effort, and again, I say if, Lighthizer told the House Ways and Means Committee that there might be an agreement that helps us turn the corner in the economic relationship with China. So a bit cautious. He says there's still a lot to negotiate. But again, Jim, I think that if you listen closely to the narrative here, that the president cannot afford a loss on this one. I think the expectation is in most corners that this will result in an agreement and particularly one that will attempt to address with enforceability the changes in Chinese business practices, particularly when it comes to intellectual property protections and forced transfer of trade secrets from U.S. companies to Chinese companies in order for Americans to do business in China.
And then a few quick words about more debate concerning the food stamp or SNAP work requirement this week.
Absolutely. Strong pushback this week from Democrats, simply because they are accusing the administration of trying to do an end run around Congress. As you know, the tougher food stamp work requirement for able-bodied adults without children was left out of the final 2018 Farm Bill, and now the Democrats are saying the end run involves rules that Secretary Perdue is trying to promulgate to toughen those work requirements. Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, now on the Senate Ag Committee, made an issue of this.
Matt Kay from Washington joining us on the RFD Radio Network. Farmers value clean water, and every day they're working to leave the land, air, and water in better shape for their families, neighbors, and future generations. In recent years, federal agencies have muddied the waters with overreaching rules and regulations that are more about controlling land than protecting water. The new Clean Water Rule announced by the Environmental Protection Agency and Army Corps provides clarity so farmers can comply with the law while protecting the environment, growing crops, and tending livestock. The new rule would end years of uncertainty over where federal jurisdiction begins and ends. Now's the time to make your voice heard. Text WATERS to 52886 and support the new Clean Water Rule proposed by the EPA and Army Corps. Don't wait. The 60-day comment period has begun, so text WATERS to 52886. Contact your local county farm bureau for more information on clean water and clear rules.
This is Let's Talk Horses on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jason Vance. Joining me today is Marcia Copeland, the Education Chair for the Show Me Missouri Backcountry Horsemen. Marcia, tell us about the Backcountry Horsemen Association.
We're part of a national organization, Backcountry Horsemen of America. They got their start back in the 70s when there was a threat for trails being closed. It was primarily in the West for quite a while until we realized that in our state and eastern states we're facing some issues of possible trail closures. So we aligned ourselves with them. They're very credible. They have a strong foundation. We've been in existence here in Missouri with Show Me Missouri Backcountry Horsemen for about 12 years. We're very narrowly focused. Our purpose is to keep equestrians open and available on public lands. And the way we do this, we align ourselves with public land managers. We're mainly a service organization. We will go to them, and if they need something done, we will volunteer our time to do that for them. We know that a lot of the public agencies now are really under the gun because of financing. They don't have a lot of financing, and this is where we can help them. We can clear trails, we can mark trails, we can build hitching racks, we can improve equestrian campgrounds, and we do this through our volunteer time and some financial backing.
Now, really, this is a grassroots organization here in Missouri. Talk to us a little bit about the structure of the Missouri Association and how that works.
Our organization is made up of chapters, and currently we have 10 different chapters across the state. We'd like to have more, but we have these 10 chapters, and the object is for the local chapter to look after their local area. If there's a problem there that needs addressing, the local chapter will handle it. If it goes beyond that, they can come to our state organization. And if that's not resolvable, and thank goodness we don't have any issues right now, then we could go on to the national. So it's a grassroots organization, starting at the bottom with trail riders who are concerned about their local areas and want to protect their local areas and are just wanting to take responsibility for their riding and local areas.
And, Marcia, I understand that Missouri is one of the first states who has actually passed legislation to protect trails.
Yes, that's correct. We're the first state in the nation to have passed on the state level that designated trails on state-managed property, public property, cannot be shut down unless there's some catastrophic reason, but they have to give a reason. In the past, that was a concern that we had no way to protect our trails legislatively. So we're very proud of that bill.
Now, you've also partnered with several agencies to put out some literature about the trails in the state of Missouri. Talk to us a little bit about that partnership and how it came about and how it helps keep trails open for trail riders.
We're very proud of a partnership with the state parks where we partnered with them in helping put out a brochure. It's called the Missouri Equestrian Trail Guide. It's a reprint of one that they had earlier that was outdated and needed updating because there's been new trails added. But we partnered with them and helped gather all the information. We went to every land manager, verified their trails, all the information about it, and then State Parks took it from there, had it laid out on a beautiful brochure, and it was just a great opportunity to see how we can work with agencies and both benefit. But this gives all the information. It has every equestrian trail in the state that's on public lands that's designated trails. Very great brochure.
Now, if someone is interested in becoming involved, whether starting a chapter or just being involved at the state level, how can they go about getting involved with protecting Missouri's trails?
Well, it's very easy to become a member, and it's very easy to learn who we are, especially, I think almost everybody has access to the computer. We do have a website. It is showmebch.org, and it will explain our mission, and it will show where all the different chapters are located, and just basically what we do, and if they want more information, that's a good way to find it. We're also on Facebook.
Well, Marcia, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
That's Marcia Copeland, Education Chair for the Show Me Missouri Backcountry Horsemen. She's been our guest on Let's Talk Horses. Thank you so much for listening, and please tune in again next week for another edition of Let's Talk Horses.
Hello, America, and welcome to the AgResource Livestock Market Watch. I'm Nathan Losey with AgResource Company in Chicago. AgResource offers daily market updates via email, which feature all the latest market news along with short and long-term price forecasts. Our reports feature in-depth coverage of livestock, grain, and oilseed markets, and also comprehensive farm marketing advice, so you can spend less time worrying about the markets and more time focused on your farm or ranch. Go to agresource.com where you can get your first month subscription for just $1. It was a higher week in the cattle market with April cattle grinding higher to mark new contract highs. The January cattle on feed report did not offer any major surprises, and the market's early week attention was on where this week's cash trade would develop. February cattle expired near $130 versus $127.50 last year, and April cattle also topped the week at just over $130. Cattle feeders have been able to demand higher prices and keep the market in the upper 120s for many weeks, but with February now off the board, the CME focuses on timing and placement of a cash market top. The beef market has started a seasonal rally that lifted the choice cutout to a 9-month high this week, which should continue into late March, but going forward, June cattle over $120 are now the most overbought since last October and could fall back to $110 to $115 by summer. Hog futures started the week lower, but quickly regained ground and were near steady for the week by Friday, while December hogs marked new contract highs. The cash hog market continues to grind lower on record supplies and reduced exports, while the CME continues to roll speculative premiums forward into October and December contracts. China and Vietnam both reported additional cases of African swine fever this week, and it increasingly looks like China and other Southeast Asian countries will become major pork importers at some point in 2019. How much and at what price is the big question, but for now the U.S. market struggles under record large supplies. Until next time, I'm Nathan Losey, and thanks for listening this week to the AgResource Livestock Market Watch.
For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason. The weather is next.
From the State Climatologist Office for the Illinois State Water Survey at the University of Illinois Prairie Research Institute, this is Brian Kirshner. Last weekend, a strong low-pressure system impacted Illinois, bringing additional rainfall statewide. Behind this system, impressive sustained winds were felt, with gusts reaching over 60 miles per hour in parts of central and northern Illinois. Abundant regional February rainfall contributed to an ongoing flooding event in the lower Ohio River. Both the Smithland Dam and Cairo gauges have already crested at over 10 feet above flood stage. Maximum river stages are expected to occur this weekend and be within the top 5 highest on record. We can expect a cold start to the month of March, as the state prepares for an Arctic blast that will reach its peak late this weekend into early next week. During this time, average temperatures of 20 degrees or more below normal will be common across Illinois. This is reflected in both the 6 to 10 and 8 to 14-day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, indicating a high confidence in below-average temperatures statewide. Prior to the arrival of the coldest air, a low-pressure system will impact portions of the state Saturday night through Sunday afternoon. With this system, locations between I-72 and I-64 have the highest chances for accumulating snow, with lighter snow showers north and precipitation mixing with rain further south. According to the National Weather Service, heading into next week, expect highs across the state to range from the single digits up into the 20s, with sub-zero lows possible north of I-80. This is Brian Kirshner from the State Climatologist Office.
And I'm Todd Gleason for ULI Extension. You have a great and a very safe week.
Joe Camp, Agrivisor, with us, and the week over trading-wise, the numbers look like what?
Well, we finished off Friday on a relatively firmer note. Corn and soybeans both finishing slightly in the green. Chicago wheat still lower by a couple of cents, ending off a really terrible week for the wheat market. We had those Chicago futures down in the front, some 33 cents for the week. Corn and soybeans both down just over a dime for the nearby futures contracts. So still a rough one for those two grains. But wheat, the real story here lately, having been an anchor for the rest of the market. We're talking about both fundamental and technical pressures on the fundamental side, all about trade here. We'd thought at this point of the year maybe Russia would be out of exportable supply. They are. We thought the U.S. would take the lead and really start to earn some new business, but we're not, because while Russia is out, we've got other countries like France stepping in to satisfy demand, and demand in general maybe just not out there like we had anticipated. We've got a lot of the big buyers maybe waiting, saying, oh, we'll just, buy hand to mouth until we get to this new northern hemisphere winter crop, which will be a couple of months away yet. But wheat going forward, probably about to take a back seat. We've got corn and soybeans about to be planted here in the U.S., planting season not too far from now. and we're talking a lot about the acreage mix, of course. What we don't know, though, is just what type of price ratio we're going to be looking at beans to corn once we get into the real thick of the planting season here in the Midwest, so it's hard to make those calls. On the corn side, you've got some fundamental negativity when you look at the demand side. Ethanol still struggling. The feed usage not quite where we thought it might be with these record animal units out there. And on the soybean side, it's all about trade, of course. Some positivity there, but we're still waiting on word regarding China.
For Illinois agricultural leaders, or those who want to be one, this is the week's Best of Leader page from the Illinois Farm Bureau. I'm Rachel Torbert.
I'm Jim Taylor in for Rachel Torbert. U.S. officials are preparing a final trade deal that President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart could sign in weeks, even as a debate continues in Washington over whether to push Beijing for more concessions. The U.S. is eyeing a summit between the two presidents as soon as mid-March. A World Trade Organization dispute settlement panel found China provided trade-distorting domestic support to its grain producers well in excess of its commitments under WTO rules. China's market price support policy artificially raises Chinese prices for grains above market levels, creating incentives for increased Chinese production of agricultural products and reduced imports. Farmers are struggling to pay back loans after years of low crop prices and export markets hit by President Donald Trump's tariffs, with a key government program showing the highest default rate in at least 9 years. State legislators are proposing a bill with the goal of expanding access to jobs in the renewable energy sector and getting Illinois as a whole to use 100% renewable energy by 2050. The Clean Energy Jobs Act also aims to cut carbon emissions to the state's power sector by 2030 and create steps to promote the use of electric cars, mass transit, instead of gasoline and diesel-powered automobiles. I'm Jim Taylor.
That's the Best of Leader page for this week. I'm Rachel Torbert. You can receive an electronic version of Leader page Monday through Friday. Just go to farmweeknow.com, click on the banner, and sign up to receive the farmweeknow.com daily update, which contains the daily edition of the Illinois Farm Bureau Leader page.
Your farm is your family's legacy and a part of your hometown heritage. While you work sun up to sundown to get the job done, we're here protecting the things you love every step of the way. Country Financial. Learn more by visiting countrycrop.com. Let's salute a town on this Saturday, one of the great nicknames in IHSA sports down in Champaign County. Fisher, home of the Bunnies. It's better to be a bunny than get beat by a bunny. The Fisher Bunnies, Fisher, Illinois, in Champaign County. I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network on this Saturday. Back at it Monday. Have a good weekend, everyone.